Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for joining me. It's Saturday, and I'm working on my first cup of coffee after taking care of the dogs, the puppies, and the cats. People really need to start thinking about long-term prepping, especially for next year's school supplies and Christmas. Why? Well, the last container ship with Chinese goods that won't be subject to President Donald Trump's 145% tariff has unloaded at U.S. ports. The Wall Street Journal reported last week that container ships operators say U.S.-bound bookings of container ships are down by at least a third. Top U.S. and Chinese trade negotiators are meeting this weekend in Switzerland for what's been described as an icebreaker discussion. Trump suggested Friday on social media that the 145% Chinese imposed levy tax could be reduced to 80%. There is a long list of things you should stock up on, and remember, always stock calmly. Things like dish soap, deodorant, shelf-stable food, medicine, and batteries. Freezer staples, electronics, clothing, car parts. Myself being a prepper, I think about the grow lights that I have. Yeah, I'm glad I bought them, probably a year ago. There's going to be a difference between essential goods versus non-essential goods. Non-essential goods, things people want but not need, is likely reevaluating whether they'll be able to continue to sell their wares at the prices they'll need to charge to offset the tariff costs. Americans accustomed to fast fashion and inexpensive toys and other products made in China may need to adjust their consumption habits. But even though things like new clothes and toys aren't necessarily essential to life, they are essential to America's economy. There are major concerns about the potential impact if everyone had to reallocate a large amount of their money from discretionary purchases to buying the basics, or stop being able to afford those basics at all. 62 million Americans are employed by small businesses. If these jobs start to go away, it doesn't matter what's on the shelves. People can't afford them. Many suppliers here in the United States have spent the last few months ordering excessive goods to preempt tariffs. This is called pull-ahead inventory. That inventory sitting in the warehouse here, suppliers are currently reducing orders from China while they wait to see what happens with trade talks. Many companies that import goods from China bought more than they needed in the past few months and will use that supply to meet current demand. But over the coming months, consumer demand is expected to diminish as Americans adjust to tariff-induced price increases and reduce overall household spending amid economic uncertainty. Stockpiling your favorite products before the prices ratchet up isn't necessarily irrational. It would give you a sense of control in a situation where you have very little. Some companies have begun to increase prices to preemptively account for tariffs, but most aren't ratcheting up prices a full 145% yet. 145% or even 80% rise in prices, I would call that hyperinflation. Would you? One economist said that they honestly think at this point it's too late in the game to do any panic buying. He said his assumption at this point is that every family will now look at if the cost of goods is going up by double digits. How do we manage the budget? Where can I cut? A cargo ship takes 2 to 3 weeks to get from China to the United States. What's sitting on the shelves right now has arrived weeks or months ago. Departures from China have fallen off since April 9th. The last date companies could guarantee products could be imported before they were subjected to 145% tariffs. CEOs have been urging people to start their back-to-school and holiday shopping now. If Trump's trade war with China continues, companies may decide it's not worth it to import the same volume or variety of stock Americans are accustomed to. You won't be able to buy any toys or school supplies, but there might only be a few kinds available, and you might not be able to afford as much as you have been in the past. Every year they give you a list at the school of what the children are required to have and what happens when you can't get it. In response, Trump suggested American children get used to having 2 dolls instead of 30. Sometimes I wonder about things that come out of his mouth. For now, companies and consumers will have to wait and see what happens. So you don't need to prepare your pantry to survive a nuclear winter just yet. There's no reason to believe food and medicine won't be available in the near future. Yeah, but what prices are you going to pay? But if this weekend's trade talks aren't productive, the prices of a lot of other things will go up in the near future with significant long-term economic impacts. Now is not the time to acquire any new debt. You need to pay off what you already have and look at your plan, look at what you might need in the future. Like I said, we got Christmas, you have birthdays, back to school supplies. Many people might resort to growing a victory garden again. Think about what you might need now for such things. Or even think a year down the road for next year's growing season when you need grow lights to start the little seedling in your home in pots from seeds. What kind of garden tools do you need? What about the lawnmower? Spark plugs, oil, things like that. And what about auto maintenance? Oil filters, hoses, etc. So what are your thoughts? Put your comments down below. Thank you very much for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. And I'll talk to you later. God bless you. Bye.